as I said before, there is no such place anywhere.
Meyer says she'd expected we'd be closer to equality by now and bemoans a backslide in women's rights. However, she believes there could be an upside to the political turbulence.
I certainly did not welcome the political developments in this country, or indeed the other side of the Atlantic with Brexit, which holds all sorts of dangers for women. But it is also worth saying that the only times there have been very significant leaps forward for women have actually been at times of turbulence, because times of turbulence signal the breaking down of the structures that hold women back.
The Women's Equality Party fielded candidates in 2016 and 2017. They didn't win any seats, but more than 350,000 voters cast ballots for their candidates. Meyer says more importantly, other parties are adopting some of her party's core objectives. And while she's in search of a gender-equal world, Meyer knows it doesn't automatically ensure a perfect world.
Would a gender-equal world be a world that was less inclined to racism, for example? Do you solve other problems when you solve the gender equality one? I'm not pretending that it's perfect. I'm not pretending that if you solve gender equality, you solve everything, because you don't. But it's a hell of a lot better than the world that we live in now.
And the question to you, Sam Bennett, is will we ever get there, or is it just a fantasy?
I think the way we don't get there is to assume it will happen organically. I referred to it earlier today. The Year of the Woman, 1992, when To the Contrary was established, we elected a record number of women on both sides of the aisle. Hope, promise, we're on our way. And nothing happened in the 25 years since then. Our biggest, the biggest danger here, Bonnie, is complacency. Organic change is a fallacy. It's a false dawn. The only way we make progress is to be assiduous and insist on it. Now, what's fascinating as the
Is there the momentum there? Clearly, women in this country, after the day after Trump's inaugural, more than 1 million women on biggest march ever. Okay,
right.
Is that being funneled somewhere? Is that
the thing is
that muscle being kept in shape?
When it talks about muscle, for example, a lot of the nations that, now we're ranked, 86th in the world now in the number of women in elected office. We've fallen. Why? Because other nations have risen, right? Most of those nations have quotas. Parliamentary systems where quotas are relatively easy to effect. But the strongest nations are the Scandinavian nations where quotas do not exist. But what does exist is an unwavering commitment by women leaders and women organizations.
But they're also more, I've been told the difference between us and them is that they're homogeneous, that, they're mainly sweet.
That may be, Bonnie, but I think that they're
Swedish people are all white and blonde and, for the most part.
That may be.
And that's not us.
But what exists there that does not exist here is an unwavering commitment by women leaders. I'm not saying, Ellie Smeal doesn't do wonderful work. Gloria Steinem does exceptional work. Congresswoman Eleanor, Holmes does incredible work. Carolyn Maloney. But there isn't the heft to it. We need things that carry the momentum forward. And my soapbox is the most important momentum is the momentum that's right at this table. If we all made sure that we encourage the women, regardless of party affiliation, to get involved in politics and did that without wavering, we could effect a sea change. Now, politics, Bonnie, for my book, is the quickest way we can effect this change. Not only because, as Congressman Holmes pointed out, political change, if we have more women in office, things like education, that women care far more about than their male counterparts do, will be dramatically improved and enhanced. If you have more women writing legislation, things across the board will be improved.
See, I agree with that. But I think what you brought up is really key, Bonnie, and that is when you spoke about the Women's March, the largest march ever held. It takes struggle, people.
Yes.
Momentum doesn't happen. Change doesn't happen. The status quo happens unless somebody makes something happen. Now, women haven't been in struggle for a long time now. Thanks to President Trump, women seem able to understand that their own freedom, their own equality is in their own hands.
You know what's funny? I mean, this week a big scandal broke in British Parliament where she lives, and there's all kinds of, changes going on in Britain similar to what's going on over here. It's, outing sexual harassment in the workplace. So, do you think? But are her ideas pie in the sky?
Well, I mean, her idea that you create a new party? Absolutely not. I mean, I think that women don't run nowadays because the system is, as with our view on race, is so polarized. And, I do think that there's an opportunity for a rise of the middle. And I think if there's sort of sensible, pragmatic policy solutions that address the majority of Americans' concerns, I think you could see many more women running right now. But I think that with moderates leaving on the Republican side and deciding they're not going to run again because it's going to be too hard to run against the radical right, I don't see a lot of women eager to get into that type of political environment.
The polarization is it's just disgusting to me because go back to January. I wanted to be part of the Women's March. They excluded women like me. I mean, Republican, right? But friends
How did they
who were
exclude you?
pro-life.
Everybody who came down could march.
You could, but they didn't want pro-life women there. So
there was a contingent of 200 or 300.
They showed up anyway, but the overwhelming message was, we don't really want you pro-life women here. Same thing with the convention. They had an opportunity to do some outreach and include center-right women like me, and that was also a missed opportunity. So I worry because we want to join forces now, right? We're at a point where, despite this polarization, women as consensus builders want to come together and solve this sort of hyper-partisanship that's plaguing the country and not allowing Congress to get anything done, for example. Well, that's a deeper issue. I just remain optimistic because of the stories. I had a very super liberal friend text me last week asking me if I knew Juliana Glover. And I said, why? She said, I'm sitting in a conference and I love what she's saying. And I said, that's so cool. I said, because I know where she is on the spectrum, and I sort of know where you are. And, so here I was thinking, this is what's going to change things. I have a hyper-liberal friend who actually wants to hear from somebody who's on my side of the aisle. Of course, she and I are deep friends, but this is what will help change the future. When women come together and just say, let's put aside our differences, but still come together.
Well,
I don't know that
putting
we're fully
aside
there.
differences, though, means ignoring the abortion issue,
Of course,
right?
it's a choice.
Okay.
The
but that's
issue
important.
So on the abortion issue. So
And we only have 30
I'm
seconds.
a long-time pro-lifer, but I absolutely believe that we can all work together on the contraception issue. There's absolutely no reason any woman in America shouldn't have access to the best contraception available. We have the technology and we should have the money.
All right, that's it for this edition. Please follow me on Twitter and visit our website, pbs.org/to the contrary. And whether you agree or think to the contrary, see you next week.
I mean, you're right.
Funding for To the Contrary provided by the Cornell Douglas Foundation, committed to encouraging stewardship of the environment, land conservation, watershed protection, and eliminating harmful chemicals. Additional funding provided by the Wallace Genetic Foundation, the Colcom Foundation, and the Charles A. Freoff Foundation. For a transcript or to see an online version of this episode of To the Contrary, please visit our PBS website at pbs.org/To the Contrary.
Welcome to English in a Minute. When something loses its original shape or form, it does not look very natural or comfortable.
Bent out of shape.
Hey, did you tell Greg about my dinner party?
Yeah, I did. I thought he was invited.
Well, now he's all bent out of shape because I didn't invite him.
I'm sorry. Can you invite him now?
It's too late. His feelings are already hurt.
A person who is bent out of shape is upset or even angry about something. A person can get bent out of shape if they do not like the way someone is treating them. In our example, Greg is bent out of shape because Anna did not tell him about her dinner party. And that's English in a Minute.
Владимир Буковский не раз подвергался репрессиям за действия, соответствующие его убеждениям. Главное же убеждение Буковского состоит в том, что за свободу надо бороться. Хроника текущих событий, 19.
Старался я протащить в карцер кусочек карандашного грифеля, обычно спрятав его за щеку. И если мне это удавалось, то потом весь свой карцерный срок на клочках газеты или прямо на полу на стене рисовал я замки. Не просто рисовал их общий вид, а ставил себе задачу – построить замок целиком, от фундамента, полов, стен, лесенок и потайных ходов до остроконечных крыш и башенок. Здравствуйте! Это программа «Параллели. События. Люди» в эфире «Голоса Америки». С вами Нателла Болтянская. «Построить замок» – именно так называлось английское издание книги Владимира Буковского. Наш герой сегодня – Владимир Буковский. Вначале было слово, ведь все начиналось с чтения стихов на Маяковке.
Чтение после открытия памятника, ну и оно как-то сошло на нет. Официальные люди уже не ходили, а неофициальных разогнали, и все кончилось. А я об этом услышал и понял, что это очень удобно, что это такой ход хороший. Туда же будут приходить люди, думающие одинаково с нами. А как их еще отсеять? Был такой Севка Абдулов и такой Сережа Гражданкин, мой соученик по школе. Еще был другой у меня соученик, который очень любил Маяковского. И это было удобно. С него все начиналось, как бы для того, чтобы сразу не бросились руки крутить. Он выходил и начинал читать что-нибудь из раннего Маяковского. Ну, Маяковский, памятник Маяковскому, ладно. А пока народ собирается, да, уже потом поздно, да. А потом там Севка начинал читать Мандельштама, там, Ахматова.
Я помню это как некое шествие к памятнику Маяковского. Читать не дали, потому что ну, то ли милиция стояла, я уже не помню. А потом просто началась избиваловка, и все.
Когда начал читать, например, Голландсков, свой знаменитый человеческий манифест, он читал очень замечательно, очень зажигательно. Поскольку это было под Маяковского сделано, то публика реагировала очень, так сказать, бурно и восторженно, с аплодисментами, то тут начинались вклиниться эти люди из этого хитрого отряда. На подмогу им прибегала милиция и забирали как за массовые беспорядки.
Они никаких формулировок не делали, это были комсюки, комсомольские оперативные отряды. ГБ там старалось не показываться, они посылали комсюков. А тех просто крутили, все, притаскивали в милицию. Там же на Маяковской под лестницей в метро была милиция, ментовка. И, значит, оставляли. А менты через полчаса нас просто отпускали, поскольку менты их не любили. Тоже тут, мол, ходят комиссары, да? Ну, что ты, иди домой. И все. Но потом они начали избивать. Они стали забирать к себе в какие-то свои там опорные пункты. И часами бить. Вот я однажды так попал, на такой молотил. Вот, до 6 утра они меня молотили. Но так технично, они старались все-таки, чтобы у меня не было там переломов, там синяков. Вот.
За стихи?
Ну, за организацию. Я сам же не читал стихи, я организовывал это. ГБ хотел же меня арестовать тогда же, когда я Эдик Кузнецова, это 61 год, и даже задержали. И где-то там я сутки на Лубянке просидел, но они выгнали меня.
Маяковка – это начало протестного движения, которое позже получило название диссидентского. Там собиралось довольно много людей, толпа была человек 200 или 300 каждое воскресенье. Буковский был там наиболее заметной фигурой, хотя был моложе, я думаю, что почти всех участников этого, так сказать, Маяковки этой.
Мне было 10 лет, когда умер Сталин. Это был вообще-то самый большой шок в моей жизни. Прежде всего, ведь нам вдолбили в голову, что он Бог, а он возьми, помри. Это была самая большая ошибка, товарищ Сталин. Вот это ощущение, что кончилась власть, что Бога больше нет, оно для десятилетнего сознания – это очень сильный шок. Через буквально 3 года Хрущев объяснил нам, что вот он был массовый убийца, тиран. Никто не возмущался. Наше поколение, примерно, плюс-минус, оно тем и отличалось, что мы абсолютно не доверяли никому старше нас. Довольно постыдная вещь ребенка обмануть, правда? А они целому поколению детей врали.
Впервые арестован в возрасте 19 лет. Формальный повод – запрещенная книга Джилеса «Новый класс».
Они мне не предъявили Маяковку вообще. А Джилеса они мне предъявили, у них, как я понимаю, задним числом, идея была не в том, чтобы меня посадить, этот материал был не богат. А у них был расчет, что они меня сломают и сделают там стукачом, не знаю. Я всегда закладывался на то, что будут пытать. А они не пытали. Я был уверен, что будут как минимум бить. Особенно после того, как камчуки нас молотили. Но лубянки никого не били.
Но зато в первый же день вызвали к генералу КГБ.
Он мне сказал, вот ордер на арест. Я вам, если все расскажете, где брали книгу, что, как, то пойдете домой, я его не подпишу. А не расскажете, я подпишу, пойдете в тюрьму. Вот, говорите. А я оскорбился и обложил его таким довольно черным матом с ног до головы. Он ничего не сказал, покачал головой, подписал, сказал, увидите. Все. Вот.
Не отягощай память ближнего излишней информацией. Не ставь его перед необходимостью мучиться потом угрызениями совести. Ты прокаженный. Ты не имеешь права на человеческую жизнь. Каждый, кто коснулся тебя, рискует заразиться. И если ты действительно любишь кого-то, избегай его, сторонись, делай вид, что не узнал, не заметил. Иначе завтра ему на голову обрушится вся мощь государства.
В какой-то момент следователь мне сказал, ты вот все геройствуешь, отказываешься с нами говорить. А как вот тебе будет, если твоя мама в соседней камере будет сидеть и визжать от боли? Я прихожу в камеру, а в камере у меня наседка и рот до ушей. Он говорит, что? Я говорю, да дурак следователь. Он даже не знает, что я свою маму эту ненавижу. Она мне всю жизнь отравила, сука. Если ее посадят, я джигу плясать буду на этом столе. Они ее не трогали. Всех матерей моих друзей уже повыгоняли с работ, там ее не трогали. Ей давали свидание со мной. Довольно долго. Но потом они поняли, что я их прикупил, и эта малина кончилась.
Важнейшим поступком Буковского была переправка на Запад документов об использовании психиатрии в политических целях.
Ну, я думаю, это основная заслуга Буковского. Во-первых, сама идея довести до сведения Запада то, что творится в СССР, в смысле использования психиатрии для подавления инакомыслия. Кроме того, он собрал серьезные документы в этом плане. В частности, Глозман помогал такой. Потом отправили дело Григоренко, генерала Григоренко на Запад, и западные психиатры определили, что он психически здоров. Я думаю, что роль его в этом плане была решающая. И, без всякого сомнения, именно и поэтому началась кампания на Западе против использования психиатрии в Советском Союзе для подавления инакомыслия. И именно поэтому Советский Союз был изгнан из Всемирной психиатрической ассоциации.
Буковского и самого дважды помещали в психушки.
Они же дурака сваляли, они мне обвинения не предъявили. Поэтому психиатрическая больница признавала меня здоровым, они везли в следующую. А следующий говорил, так позвольте, он ни в чем не обвиняется, мы не можем его держать. Ну, везли еще куда-то, привезли в Сербский, в конце концов, где даже Лунц сказал, коль скоро он ни в чем не обвиняется, мы не можем решать вопрос о вменяемости. И вообще под стражей держать не можем, он не арестован.
Впрочем, попыток воздействовать на психику они не оставляли.
В 1973 год меня вернули с этапа в Лефортово по делу Викира. Вот тут мне предложил следователь, вот Александровский как раз. А чего, говорит, вы здесь сидите, зачем вам это в тюрьме? Вы напишите мне заяву, что вы хотели бы уехать, мы вас отпустим в Израиль. Никаких проблем, давайте. А я ему говорю, ну что ж, говорю, интересное предложение. Только я бы вот сначала попросил вас выпустить всех психушников, поскольку я из-за этого сижу, собственно. Вот, и как бы признать, что вот ошибка была такая у советской власти. Как он с кулаком по столу стукнет? Вы что, торговаться будете с советской властью? Я говорю, да. А почему нет? Вы же предлагаете. Я вас ни о чем не просил. Вы сделали предложение, я делаю контрпредложение. В чем проблема? Мы вас загнаем. Ну, дальше поехала известная песня. Уже неинтересно. Вот. И потом, вот после этого, вдруг этот Жучков, был такой следователь Жучков, довольно противный, вызвал меня вечером, чего они уже не делали обычно. И говорит, да, я, говорит, что-то устал, сейчас кофе себе сделаю. Вам сделать кофе? Или вы считаете, что у нас здесь травят? Ну, вот заезд гнилой, он же понимает, что в таком контексте я не могу сказать нет, я не хочу, да, потому что это покажет мою слабость, мою трусость, да. И я говорю, ну, что делать, кофе, хорошо. А сам жду, потому я понимаю, что там что-то будет, какой-то подвох. А он спиной стоит ко мне и там делает якобы кофе. У него кипятильник. Что он при этом там руками делает, я не могу видеть. Он стоит ко мне спиной. Приносит чашечку кофе себе, мне. Я только отхлебнул, и реакция была мгновенная. Кровь прилила к голове, в ушах звон, а во рту какой-то странный привкус. А главное, что наступило какое-то очень мне несвойственное состояние, какой-то такой плаксивости, такой какой-то жалостливости, которого у меня никогда в жизни не было. Это просто никак мне не свойственно. Ну, поскольку занимался нейрофизиологией, то я знаю очень простую вещь. Эмоцию нельзя задавить. Понимаете, вот скажем, если вы чего-то боитесь, не пытайтесь задавить, попытайтесь заместить. Да, вот эмоцию можно только заместить другой эмоцией. И я решил себя обозлить. Я стал его материть, этого Жучкова, крепко очень. И чем больше материл, тем больше злился. И тем меньше уже оставалось всего остального. Двух эмоций не может быть одновременно. Понимаете? Вот. Он так посмотрел несколько минут, он так за мной наблюдал. Он нажал на звоночек, говорит, корпусного вызова, уберите. Я пришел в камеру, и еще минут 15 у меня это состояние было вот такое все взвинченное. А потом вдруг, как все равно вот выключили, да, все, кровь отхлынула от головы, все, спокойно.
Итого, первый обыск по делу о чтении стихов на Маяковке и отчисления из университета 1961 год. Первый арест 1963 год. Сидел в ленинградской психушке. Вышел в 1965 году. В конце 1965-го вновь арестован за подготовку митинга в защиту Даниэля и Синявского. Насильственно госпитализирован. На этот раз в Москве. Экспертиза диагноз не подтвердила. Но выпустили Буковского только после запроса международной амнистии. Вскоре Буковский принялся за подготовку акции в защиту авторов «Белой книги» по процессу Даниэля и Синявского.
Вся Москва знала, что это будет. Хотя вывесили всего 2-3 рисовки в МГУ. Ну, так по рукам ходило воззвание. В назначенное время у памятника Пушкину собралось у самого памятника человек 50. А вот вокруг, через дорогу, через улицу, стояли тысячи людей и смотрели, что с нами будет, с ними там, да? Сразу расстреляют или потом. Потому что это была первая демонстрация, свободная, как бы независимая, с 29-го года. Вечером об этом уже говорит BBC, «Голос Америки», «Свобода» и все остальные радиостанции, которые, по оценкам КГБ, слушало огромное количество людей.
Результатом стал третий арест, а всего их было 4.
Он бросил мне на прогулке, значит, из хлеба делают такое, из мякиша туда записку, и мякиш, чтобы бросить. Это декабристская азбука такая. Это пишет, буквы пишут А, Б, В, Г, вот 5 и 6. Сразу я это посмотрела быстро, и сразу мы стали перестукивать. Он мне сказал, что он, Володя Буковский, сидит рядом со мной, что была демонстрация в мою защиту или в нашу защиту. И кого взяли, он мне постучал.
А потом он придумал замок. Когда-нибудь я приглашу своих друзей, и мы пройдем вместе по подъемному мосту через ров. Войдем в эти залы, сядем за столы, будут гореть свечи и звучать музыка, а солнце будет тихо садиться за озером. Я прожил в этом замке сотни лет, и каждый камень обточил своими руками. Я строил его, сидя под следствием во Владимире. Он спас меня от безразличия, от глухой тоски безразличия к живому. Он спас мне жизнь. Потому что ты не можешь онеметь, не имеешь права быть безразличным. Потому что именно в такой момент тебя пробуют на зуб. Продолжение истории Владимира Буковского в следующем выпуске программы «Параллели. События. Люди» в эфире «Голоса Америки». С вами Нателла Болтянская.
Mention New Orleans and most people will immediately associate it with jazz. And that distinctly American music can be heard everywhere throughout the city, including at this jam session by a group of National Park Rangers.
Make it neat, make it proper, lay it low.
National Parks traveler Micah Meyer recently visited New Orleans to soak up some of those sounds and learn about the city's other cultural highlights.
There's the New Orleans Jazz National Historical Park, which basically celebrates the contribution of the culture of New Orleans to this music that is authentically and originally American, a relatively new genre that is distinctly American. So it's a bunch of little sites basically all scattered throughout the French Quarter and the older parts of the city that celebrate this heritage.
Just south of the city is the Jean Lafitte National Historical Park and Preserve, named in honor of a French pirate who helped General Andrew Jackson defend New Orleans against the British in the final battle of the War of 1812. Micah spent time in the wetlands paradise that's home to an impressive variety of plants and wildlife.
The preserve was a really good example of a lot of the sites I had seen throughout the whole Gulf Coast. Everything from the Everglades northwest up through Tampa, through Pensacola, all the way to New Orleans. It was a good example of that ecosystem that lives in between the ocean and easily habitable land.
Micah also had a chance to visit Poverty Point National Monument, a prehistoric Native American settlement that is now a World Heritage. It's one of North America's most important archaeological sites, with a unique geometric design that is a masterpiece of engineering.
It has 6 lines of slightly raised ground, which they believe is where people lived, and then it has a bunch of different mounds.
And at the Cane River Creole National Historical Park, the 4th of Louisiana's national parks, Micah came to learn that the state's culture was not just influenced by the French.
It's very heavily influenced by all the people and all the countries and cultures that did trade in New Orleans. You know, Spanish, British, French. And so this Creole culture that developed out of that melting pot in a melting pot of America is a very unique thing.
Even though they're part of the U.S., Micah says the southern states he's visited so far show just how diverse America can be.
If someone is looking to understand a unique culture of American history, the Gulf Coast offers that chance.
Julie Daawo, VOA News, Washington.
If you want to learn what makes a volcano erupt, you need to go right to the otherworldly source, the crunchy, oozing, red-hot source. At least that's what geologist Mike Garcia does.
Voila!
Wow, that's amazing. Amazing indeed. Welcome to the most studied volcano in the world, Kilauea. Garcia and I came to this surreal landscape on Hawaii's Big Island by helicopter. On our way, we got a glimpse of the red rock cauldron of magma through the sulfur-tainted steam. Kilauea is one of the longest currently erupting volcanoes on the planet. The lava started flowing in January of 1983.
So the mantle is producing an enormous amount of hot material that's coming out of Kilauea. This is probably one of the most active periods of the historical record of Kilauea.
The eruption waxes and wanes, at times spewing fountains of lava, and in the 1990s threatening and destroying nearby homes. Through it all, there is one constant besides the flowing lava, Garcia. He has been studying Kilauea for 30 years, thanks to support from the National Science Foundation.
Well, with most volcanoes, you want to know when it's going to erupt. And so that's a primary concern. But in this case, where we have an eruption that's been going on for over 30 years, the big question is, when's it going to stop?
He comes here looking for data. In this case, a piece of freshly cooked earth just out of the oven. He dunks it in water, freezing the moment and its chemical composition in time. A geological Instagram packed with data.
We know its birth date. We know when it was erupted. And you might ask, well, why do we care?
because the lava composition changes hourly, daily, or even monthly.
And somewhere in there might be some sort of telltale sign of whether it's going to continue erupting or not, right?
Absolutely. In science, one of the key things we do now are time series studies, where we collect samples repeatedly during the course of an eruption or in the ocean, because it's evolving all the time.
Back in his lab at the University of Hawaii in Honolulu, graduate student Kendra Lin does her part to understand Kilauea, shaving rocks into 30-micron slices and then analyzing them using an electron microprobe. She is interested in this green mineral called olivine. It is the most common mineral that forms at Kilauea. What can we learn from it?
Because it's the first thing to crystallize in these magmas, it tells us a lot about the mantle source, where the magmas came from, and it can also tell us a lot about the magma's history.
This is just one of many tests the team routinely conducts to analyze the elements and isotopes in the newborn rocks.
Each of the processes within the volcano leaves a fingerprint. So over the years, we've been able to develop an understanding of what those fingerprints are and what they tell us about what's going on in the volcano.
So where are we right now? What's this?
We're looking at the rock collection we have from the Pu'u'o eruption, as well as some of the other Hawaiian eruptions.
And over the years, he has amassed an impressive collection of rocks, not just from Kilauea, but from volcanoes all over the Hawaiian Islands.
So this is July 23rd of 1997, and this one looks a little grayer.
Yes, not quite as shiny for whatever reason.
But
Why
you can
would
see
that be?
the imprint. Well,
Yeah.
it was a little cooler at the time it was quenched.
I see. If only these rocks could talk.
Volcanoes are addictive.
Fortunately, Garcia is pretty adept at reading them. One of the things he focuses on is the temperature of the lava.
So what we've seen is a long-term decrease. Initially, the lava temperature was low. It increased, the eruption roared upward, and now it's been slowly waning and we see the temperature of the lavas indicating a decrease. So we think this eruption might end in the near future, but it's ended several times in the past. It was quiet in 1997 for a month, and then it restarted.
Back at the lava flow, Garcia told me his work is not as dangerous as it seems. A calculated risk for a good scientific cause. All right, so what is the strategy for walking? How do you know what to step on?
We need to avoid areas that look shelly, indicating that the lava is drained out from underneath. So we try to look for places where it looks solid, so we can avoid collapsing in on the lava flow.
I'm just going to follow you. How's that?
Very good.
But while we were here, some newly minted, still hot Hawaiian earth melted the soles right off his shoes. Wow, just like that. Is the other one already gone?
No. Oh, you're absolutely right.
Holy moly. Wow. All in a day's work for an intrepid geologist determined to go with and to the flow.
Success.
For Science Nation, I'm Miles O'Brien.
Welcome to English at the Movies, where we teach you American English heard at the movies. Our saying today is, "You got this," from the film Megan Levy. This film is based on a true story about a woman in the United States military. She served with a combat dog in Iraq. Listen for the saying, "You got this."
You're getting a dog. You got this? Think faster.
Yeah, I got this. You think I'm afraid of you? Lay down. Rex, lay down.
So, what do you think "you got this" means? Is it, do you understand? Or, what dog do you want? Listen again. Did you have the right answer?
You're getting a dog. You got this? Think faster.
Yeah, I got this. You think I'm afraid of you? Lay down. Rex, lay down.
You got this means, do you understand? Megan Levy was told she is to work with a dog in battle. When a man says, "You got this," he was asking if she understood. In this case, it also meant, "Are you ready to accept this job?" When she said, "Yes, I got this," it meant she understood and was ready to do the work. You got it? And that is English at the Movies. I'm Ann Ball.
This is Everyday Grammar. I'm Kaveh.
And I'm Lucia. And this episode is all about quantifiers.
Wow, Lucia, you're really excited about today's topic.
I am. Quantifiers.
Okay, what's going on with these quantifiers that are making you so excited?
Well, let me tell you. A quantifier is a word that shows an amount or number. They give information about how much or how many of an item you are talking about.
How much or how many? Like how many people are coming over for dinner? Or how much food do we need for tonight's dinner?
You've got it. There are quantifiers for count nouns, non-count nouns, and for both.
barnaamijka qubanaha waxa aanu bilownay bishii July ee sanadkii hore waxaana hadafku yahay inaanu dadka u gudbino barnaamijyo muuqaal ah annagoo hiigsanayna TV
qubanaha VOA waxaan ku soo gudbinaa qubanayaal goosgoos oo xiiso badan oo ku saabsan arrimaha Soomaaliya Mareykanka iyo caalamkaba
haddaba qubanaha VOA da kala soco website-keena voasomali.com
John Davis, and this is Motor Week. Join us as the Alfa Romeo Stelvio races into the SUV craze with Italian style and performance. Pat Goss has advice on keeping your car's color colorful. Roger Mecca slips behind the wheel of a classic Camaro Z28. And Honda goes sport injected for their latest Civic. So come drive with us next.
Motor Week, television's original automotive magazine.
While the Giulia sedan did a lot to cement Alfa Romeo's place in the Euro luxury sport market here, these days no brand can really compete stateside without an SUV. And indeed, the Stelvio was always a part of Alfa's return strategy for America. So let's take a look at this upstart utility and find out if more familiar European brands should be getting a little nervous. The 2018 Alfa Romeo Stelvio is indeed the right vehicle at the right time, as even with luxury sport brands, utility vehicles continue to take sales away from sedans. So it's not just a good idea for this re-emerging Italian brand, it's really a necessity. And while no one may have seen that coming 20 years ago, it almost makes sense at this point, as car makers have been able to infuse utilities with the same amount of performance, comfort, style, and even efficiency as their four-door siblings, while giving buyers more flexibility for carrying cargo. Behind the wheel of this Italian two-row ute, things are very quiet and luxurious. It's very stable, and like most of its competitors, drives more like a tall hatchback than a crossover-style utility. Seats are more than comfortable, but if you don't mind a sportier ride, upgrading to the TI Sport will get you some phenomenal sport seats. For now, all Stelvios come with a smooth-running 2-liter turbo i4 engine. It offers best-in-class standard horsepower at 280, accompanied by 306 pound-feet of torque. At full song, it sounds more like an exotic 6 or even 8. In opposite fashion from the Giulia sedan that the Stelvio is based on, we'll have to wait a little while longer for the high-performance quadrifolio version to arrive. Huge column-mounted paddle shifters are available to control the 8-speed automatic transmission with great precision. And if you ask for manual control, that's what you get. All Stelvios are all-wheel drive. Now, it doesn't feel leaps and bounds more spirited than the competition, at least without having the opportunity to drive them back-to-back. But it sure does feel hellaciously fast and super capable. 0 to 60 is 5.4 seconds, and only a few ticks behind the Giulia 2.0. Like Giulia, there's a DNA drive mode selector. Leave it in dynamic for the best results, and you won't find the ride harsh at all. Steering is quick, it feels planted, and just right, with loads of grip for cornering. With Alpha's Q4 all-wheel drive system, the front wheels only are fed power when necessary. Otherwise, it operates as a rear-wheel drive Sportster. Now, Stelvio performs just fine in all other drive modes as well. It just kind of gives you the impression that's not where it wants to be. At 111 inches, wheelbase is exactly the same as the Giulia, but with a little more material outbound. Overall length comes in about 2 inches longer. For the most part, it shares the same aggressive face, but lines are a little more pronounced, especially down the sides. There are 9 different tire and wheel packages, ranging from standard 18s to 20s. Even the back end treatment is gorgeous. We almost wish Alpha would have just called it a Giulia wagon, even though we all know to most Americans that would kill it. Base Stelvios come fairly well equipped, but most buyers will either travel down the Lusso or Sport Road for upgrades that match their priorities. Wood and nicer leather for the luxury-minded, aluminum trim for the sport-minded. Like the Giulia, there are only minor traces of any Fiat Chrysler lineage. Materials and fit and finish are on par with European alternatives. It's a very inviting space with only a fussy electronic shifter to detract from the serenity. Rear seat room is not plentiful, but certainly doable for 2 adults. Capacity in the cargo hold at 18.5 cubic feet is decent but short of most rivals. Folding the rear seat back will expand the space to 56.5 cubic feet. Also like the Giulia sedan, the Stelvio is technically mid-size but lies more in the middle ground between compact and middleweight SUVs. Government fuel economy ratings are 22 city, 28 highway, and 24 combined, for a reasonable energy impact score of 13.7 barrels of yearly oil use with 6 tons of CO2 emissions. Stelvio-based pricing is a very reasonable $42,990, though options are many and costly. We figure most Stelvios will go for low to mid-50s. According to the folks at Alpha, there was no point in adding yet another utility vehicle into a congested pool full of very nice import and domestic branded luxury crossovers, unless it was the most powerful, highest performing vehicle in its class. The 2018 Alfa Romeo Stelvio is just that. It's a fabulous effort. So Alpha's biggest challenge will be getting butts in seats to try it out. Once they do, Stelvio will sell itself. The Mustang-Camaro grudge match began on September 29, 1966, the day the Camaro went on sale as Chevrolet's answer to Ford's 2-year-old pony car sensation. And from the start, Camaro's performance standout was the virtually race-ready Z28 package. Well, our Roger Mecca is always looking for classic standouts, and when he had a chance to drive a first-gen Z28, he quickly buckled up for a joyride.
When most people think of classic American pony cars, the first one that comes to mind is usually the Mustang, like this Shelby GT350. But not me.
I like the Mustang too, but for me, the quintessential classic American muscle car is the Camaro Z28, the one that put Ford on its heels for decades to come.
By 1967, roughly 1 million Mustangs were already on the road. To compete against Ford's sporty coupe, the Bowtie Brigade turned to the Chevy 2 Nova Super Sport, but it lacked the styling pizzazz of the Mustang. So GM engineers came up with something entirely new with one goal in mind: to beat the Mustang in every possible way. In fact, when asked by the auto press what the name Camaro meant, they replied, "It's a small, ferocious animal that eats Mustangs."
Chevy made a lot of different variants of the Camaro over the first few years, but this is the one that everybody lusts after, the 1969 Z28.
Dude, this particular car is my absolute favorite GM car of all time.
Chip Miller is the owner of Eurostar Auto Gallery outside of Baltimore, specializing in rare and exotic automobiles. But he's also a massive fan of the 69 Z28 and has been since he was a teenager.
I think this car will stand the test of time because it has been so heralded over the years as being just a very versatile racer, a versatile street car with the look and the feel of American muscle. It's just got it all going on.
The Z28's main rival was the Mustang Boss 302, but in terms of sales, there was no competition. The 69 Z28 outsold the Boss by a 12-to-1 margin. Even in terms of total Camaro numbers, Chevy had closed the gap on Ford, selling only 50,000 fewer units in 1969. In just 3 short years, the Camaro had officially become a serious adversary for the mighty Mustang.
I love a good underdog story, and in a lot of ways, that's what the Camaro was. At the time, the Mustang was the icon that everybody was chasing after, and this was just an upstart. But in a lot of ways, it was also a better car.
The $458 Z28 package gave owners quicker steering, better suspension, and for the first time ever, the option of 4-wheel disc brakes. And though precision steering and classic Detroit muscle don't always go hand in hand, the Z28 gave me plenty of confidence to punch the accelerator no matter how twisty the roads got. And by design, the Z28 was built to put down fast laps on a track with a focus on handling. But for some consumers, that was actually a bad thing.
Now, gearheads might have wanted a straight-line speedster, but that's not what the Z28 was. It got to 60 miles an hour in about 8 seconds, and it was built for the racetrack, not drag racing.
And on the racetrack, it was dominant, winning the Trans Am Racing Series title in both 68 and 69. Racing conditions demanded that the 302 V8 be tuned to deliver top-end power, where the driver would spend most of their time. But that also means less speed off the line. But that all changes once the RPMs start to climb.
Get up around 3,000 or 4,000 RPM, and this thing turns into a rocket ship. And the way this engine sounds, 30 might as well feel like 100.
So what's not to love? Well, there's no AC, and driving on a hot summer's day will go from uncomfortable to miserable in a hurry. And the lack of power steering and a heavy clutch mean road trips or heavy traffic of any kind will become a labor-intensive endeavor. And while you will definitely fall in love with the engine's mighty roar, your neighbors definitely won't. But trust me when I say this, it's all worth it.
Now, I've had the privilege to drive a lot of incredible cars over the years, but very few of them are ones I've actually wanted to take home. But this one is.
It takes a lot of work to keep a car looking like new, something our Pat Goss always takes a shine to.
No matter whether you have a new car or an old car, if it has nice paint, you want to keep it looking nice. And there are some ways to do that. And we have with us Eric from Expel Technologies to give us some pointers. Eric, welcome to Goss's Garage.
Thank you very much for having me, Pat.
All right. You've treated this car. Tell us about it.
So what we've done is we put our paint protection film on this vehicle. So what it is an aliphatic urethane with an automotive clear coat with an adhesive layer on the back of it, applied just like window tint. We use a slip solution to get it the way you want, and then squeegee it down onto the painted surface just like you would on tint. And we've got a 30-inch kit that's protecting the leading edge of the front, with the hood and matching fender line, the bumper, and the mirror backs were typically the main impact areas of the vehicle. So The technology, what really makes this nice, is our self-healing film. So what do I mean by self-healing? It's got elastomer polymers. If you get scratches in the film, 20 minutes out in the sun, it'll come out on its own.
You have a rather ugly-looking brush in your hand. What are you going to do with that?
Well, yeah, this is a brass wire brush, and what I'm going to do is demonstrate the self-healing capabilities of the film. We're going to take this brush and go right into the film and put some nice swirl marks into the film, and then we're going to pour hot water on it and watch it come right out instantaneously for you.
Interesting.
If that kind of scenario was to happen, it would heal out on its own. Your paint won't come back, but the film will.
All right. Now, one of the things that we see from time to time is graffiti. What can you do with that?
Well, unfortunately, it does happen every now and then, depending on where you're at. The film can easily handle that with the right solvent or solution to take it off.
All right. Now, I guess the bottom line to all of this is that you're going to have a better looking car for a longer period of time, and when it comes time for trade-in, you're going to get more money for it.
That's correct. So it's two different things. It's about the car that you love, and you want to protect that no matter what. And then second thing is, if you're, let's say, leasing a car on a 2 or 3 year term, once you turn that car in, you say, hey, dealership, here's a set of keys. I'm going to take a set of keys back. 45 days later, the leasing company might just hit you with a bill for the condition of how the car was up on the front. So it's better to finance the paint away, and then when you trade in the keys, you don't have to worry about it.
Got it. Eric, thank you. And if you have a question or a comment, drop me a line right here at Motor Week.
A brand new car, a full tank of gas, and a key fob. That's all we need for a quick spin. When SRT engineers created Hellcat engines for the Dodge Charger and Challenger, some wondered if that performance would ever be paired with Jeep's ruggedness. Well, it has in the 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. Here, the Hellcat supercharged 6.2-liter V8 rates 707 horsepower and 645 pound-feet of torque. That big engine needs a lot of air, so fog lights are swapped for cold air ducts. An upgraded 8-speed automatic transmission triggers lightning-fast shifts. In sport mode, they're even quicker and the steering firmer. For us, that was the sweet spot while driving on the highway and these back roads in Maine and New Hampshire.
There's also a quad exhaust system out back. There's a bit of refinement to it. It's not as brutal and aggressive as the Charger and the Challenger, but still really nice. And you get a lot of that sound there, laying into the throttle. I mean, it's everything you want, maybe just a little bit more refined than those other cars.
This lowered SUV was also right at home at Club Motorsports in Tamworth, New Hampshire, maintaining great composure and stability. The Brembo brake system with 15 3/4-inch front rotors kept the hard braking zones largely uneventful. But the Trackhawk is still best suited for straight line runs. With the easy-to-use launch control system and all 4 wheels putting power down, we zoomed to 60 in 3.5 seconds on the very first run. The 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk well handled the drive to the track, our time on the track, and the drive back home, while still maintaining much of its all-weather and off-pavement capabilities. Look for it by the end of the year, starting at around $86,000. The 2017 Mini John Cooper Works Clubman brings more of what we like to the premium hatchback segment. It bears the name of legendary British race car builder John Cooper, who began the brand's long history of rally car racing. This is the first Mini to combine the latest version of the performance enhancements with the new all-4 all-wheel drive system. The 2-liter Turbo 4 pumps out 228 horsepower. It's the most powerful engine yet for a production Mini. When we slipped into the driver's seat, this compact all-wheel driver jumped off the line with good low-end torque and plenty of grip. The 8-speed Sport automatic shifts quickly like it can't stand to be still. The engine and exhaust sound like a swarm of angry hornets and reverberate all around the cabin, and they're noises we enjoy hearing. At low speeds, response is quick and it can be darty. Steering is, however, razor sharp and heavy with some actual feel. The almost perfectly balanced body produces zero roll. When it comes time to stop, the Brembo brake system hunkers down and halts in a hurry. It's no secret we're big fans of Mini, but combining the versatility of the 5-door Clubman and all-wheel drive with the top performance level of the brand made us ever more so. It's on sale now starting just under $36,000. We've spent a lot of time behind the wheel of the latest Kia Optima sedan. It just left our fleet after a year's service. But this 2017 Kia Optima Hybrid makes this midsize 4-doors Euro spec style and driving response that much more appealing. A new 154 horsepower 2-liter 4 is matched with a new 38 kilowatt electric motor for a combined output of 193 horsepower. Transitions between gasoline and electric are virtually invisible. The lithium polymer battery pack improves capacity by 13%. It's now rated at 1.62 kilowatt hours, and Kia put it under the trunk floor, so there's no compromising the 60-40 split folding rear seats like some rivals. Also, unlike most hybrids, the Optima has a true 6-speed geared automatic transmission and not a CVT. Always a good way to get our attention. The electric power steering has good weight. The stiffer chassis gives it fine road manners that mimics high-end European sedans. The 2017 Kia Optima Hybrid continues to propel the brand forward. It's a family sedan that provides style and enjoyable drive with longer trips between gas stations. On sale now, prices start around $26,000. And we'll have more quick spins soon.
No doubt the latest Honda Civic is a winner, but it really became a winner in our hearts when Honda announced that a new high-output Turbo SI and Type R were headed our way. And while the Fast and Furious crowd are surely salivating over the fact that we're finally getting a real Type R here, it's the more attainable SI that arrives first. And here's why we're so happy that that wait is over.
Sport-injected Honda Civics are hardly new, having in some form or another been available off and on here in the States for over 30 years. But since the latest 10th generation Civic is clearly the best one yet, does it follow that the 2017 Honda Civic Si is the best of its kind as well? Well, for starters, our SI sedan felt just as expertly put together as other Civic 4-doors. A coupe is also available, but as of right now, no SI hatchback. Both bodies get their own unique updates. The sedan's a little subtler in nature. There's a distinctive fascia with gloss black trim and larger air intakes up front, 18-inch split-spoke alloys underneath, and central-mounted hexagon exhaust tip in back. It's a great-looking package that earned more than a few "That's a Civic?" questions from casual observers. The engine is a 1.5-liter i4 turbo. True, it's the same one in other up-level Civics, but now with cranked-up boost to over 20 psi. So horsepower rises 31 to 205, torque climbs 30 to 192 pound-feet. A 6-speed manual is the only transmission available, and it's a really good one. As is the SI in general, provided you have the proper perspective. It's not meant to be a no-holes-barred performance car. That's for the Type R. Rather, the SI is a much more interesting daily driver. And it is a total pleasure to drive, not harsh or too fast and furious. And that's where this car seems to have run afoul with many online haters. They clearly wanted more. VTEC snobs are also bemoaning this new car's lack of an on-off power switch. But it's time to move on, people. For better or worse, we're in a new Turbo 4 era, and this engine puts out more power and delivers it sooner than any SI before it. And allow Honda to introduce something the old 2.4 never had. It's called mid-range torque, and there's a decent amount of it here. Peak power is delivered at 2100 RPM, and it basically just stays there. Things can get a bit noisy inside, otherwise it's very comfortable with nicely supportive sports seats. Steering has good weight to it, and there's a thick wheel for getting things in motion. This SI handles corners with ease. It's nimble and light, and indeed it is almost 100 pounds lighter than before. The suspension has, of course, been sport-tuned, complete with new adaptive dampers. As before, a limited slip differential is included. Add in super sticky Goodyear Eagle F1 summer tires and things stay very flat. As for straight line kicks, there's decent grip at launch, provided you mind the revs. Torque steer was not a problem as we leapt to 60 in 6.5 seconds, about a half second better than the last 2.4. Maintaining peak boost from the little turbo is a delicate job, however. The Honda has included some shift lights in the gauge pod to help. Just wait a beat after you see them and you're golden. Shift too soon and there's a definite lag in boost. The shifter itself is slick and precise, but we could use a little more clutch pedal feel. 15.2 seconds was our quarter at 95 miles per hour. The brakes are even more impressive. We averaged 102 feet from 60 with no fade, no dive, no drama. Here, pedal feel is excellent. All that and it still delivers improved government fuel economy rating. 28 city, 38 highway, and 32 combined on premium. SI trim may not come as feature-packed as some might like, but then pricing starts at just $24,775 for both sedan and coupe. Clearly, the base Civic has come a long way in recent years, yet Honda has managed to take the 2017 Civic Si even further. Yes, it is the best SI yet. Still, as with many things new and improved, they lose a little soul along the way. But don't judge this SI until you drive it. And we'll bet that if you love your current SI, you'll want this one even more. Well, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, for more Motor Week, including daily news updates, podcasts, and even complete episodes, cruise on over to pbs.org/motorweek. And I hope you'll join us next time for more of every kind of performance in the Porsche 911 GTS. Then it's a new luxurious look for the Buick Encore. Till then, I'm John Davis. We'll see you right here on Motor Week.
To learn more about Motor Week, television's original automotive magazine, visit pbs.org/motorweek. This program was produced by Maryland Public Television, which is solely responsible for its content.
Are you seeing any roots there? No. Nothing.
From treetops to rivers to the bedrock below, there's constant activity and change going on in what we might think of as the skin of our planet.
So the critical zone is this active layer of the skin of the Earth where a lot of the life forms find habitat and live and use resources, going from the microbes to humans.
With support from the National Science Foundation, civil and environmental engineer Praveen Kumar and his team at the University of Illinois run the Critical Zone Observatory with a focus on so-called intensively managed landscapes. These are areas where human activities have dramatically transformed the land over time, like here in Illinois' Sangamon River Basin.
So a lot of this land is mostly agriculture and pasture land. These landscapes have been extensively modified over the last 200 years, going from natural prairie and wetlands to industrial agriculture.
Critical zones are spread all across the agricultural heartland of America and around the world.
And the goal is to continue to get the productivity that we want out of these landscapes while reducing the impact we have, so that we can enhance the ecosystems.
There's 3 soil moisture sensors directly under this at 5 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and 60 centimeters, and they're each measuring soil moisture, hydraulic conductivity, and soil temperature.
This site in central Illinois is one of 3 in the upper Midwest that make up the observatory.
Today we're out here trying to
determine sources of sediment that get into the river. So this particular site is obviously a case where we have the river cutting into this bank, and it's eroding, and sediments can come out of this bank and into the stream during higher flows.
The team shares their results with local farmers who help with the project by allowing towers, sensors, fiber optics, and other equipment on their property.
The farmers are very much interested in increasing the productivity of this landscape, but they are also very conscious of the environmental impact. They are definitely very good citizens. They need to be informed. We have to work together with them.
Kumar says these critical zones all have a story to tell, and knowing how climate, water, vegetation, and human systems interact can help us plan for the future.
We do see the critical zone science as basically a place where all these different disciplines and different expertise come together. So if we can use our understanding, then we are addressing a big societal challenge.
Understanding these intensively managed landscapes will pay off down the road in helping to develop innovative solutions to food and water security issues and bolstering environmental sustainability. Now that's critical. For Science Nation, I'm Miles O'Brien.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A cannon used to be a common military weapon.
Loose cannon.
So, are Anna and Jonathan talking about an old battle?
Hey, I'm looking for someone to host a political event tomorrow night. Can your friend Sylvia help out?
Sylvia? She's a loose cannon. You never know what she's going to say. She could easily offend everyone in the room.
Imagine you are on a ship in the middle of the ocean. Suddenly, a cannon comes loose from the deck of the ship. A loose cannon could cause great damage. The same can be said about a person. A loose cannon is a person who is uncontrolled and unpredictable and damages their own group or cause. And that's English in a Minute.
That's just one of the vicious cycles that are spinning faster as the Arctic warms. Another is happening out on the ice.
I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
Coach called me over and he was like, hey, you got a pretty good arm, why don't you join the team?
The frozen Arctic is thawing, and as it thaws, it's coming to life. It's not just the longer growing season. Underground, the Arctic permafrost is retreating, says ecologist Ross Virginia.
More of what was previously frozen soil, locked away from biology, essentially inert, is now becoming biologically alive.
And like all living things, soil breathes. Scientists are measuring the gases exhaled by the bacteria and fungi living in the growing layer of soil. They are finding the microbes are producing worrying amounts of carbon dioxide and methane.
And those are potent greenhouse gases. So then the atmosphere warms more, and we get more thaw of the permafrost, more gases being emitted, which leads to more warming.
That's just one of the vicious cycles that are spinning faster as the Arctic warms. Another is happening out on the ice. says atmospheric scientist Jim McQuaid.
Bright snow reflects sunlight, so it doesn't melt as quick. But as soon as you start darkening the snow, the speed of this melting increases.
And the Greenland ice sheet is getting darker. Though it seems isolated from the rest of the world, McQuaid says desert dust, industrial soot, and smoke from forest fires blow in from far away. McQuaid is part of a team studying how these darkening particles interact with microbes growing on the ice. They produce dark pigments to shield themselves from the unrelenting sun. McQuaid says the microbes, dust, and soot form into globs that create pockmarks in the ice.
They're dark, they'll start to warm up and then melt into the snow or the ice. And as one melts and then you get another one melts and then they'll start joining together, so you get this water forming.
The more water that melts, the more the microbes can grow, leading to more melting. Scientists do not yet know how big an impact these self-sustaining cycles will have. But Ross Virginia says researchers have been caught off guard.
We've been underestimating rates of change, and it's because we're now understanding these feedbacks that we really need to dig into and understand how physical change affects biology, how biology drives physical change.
Change that's happening faster and faster. In 2015, at the historic Paris summit, world leaders pledged to take steps to avoid that change. Here are the primary goals of the Paris Climate Accord. Hold warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Establish national targets to cut emissions. Reach net zero emissions between 2050 and 2100. Review national goals every 5 years. Create mechanisms to mitigate damage caused by climate change. Produce a non-binding financial agreement to help developing countries cut emissions. The U.S. is responsible for 14% of the global total of the world's greenhouse gases. By pulling out, the U.S. joins Syria as the only countries not participating in the agreement. This month in Bonn, Germany, UN negotiators will be back, working out the details of how to cut emissions of planet-warming gases. It's the first conference since President Donald Trump said the United States would withdraw from the agreement. That leaves questions about the direction of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, and the answer is not straightforward. Donald Trump campaigned for president, promising to put struggling coal miners back to work. Since taking office, he has worked to undo policies aimed at cutting greenhouse gas emissions from coal-fired power plants and elsewhere.
Keystone Pipeline.
That includes a move to undo the Obama administration's regulations targeting electricity generation, known as the Clean Power Plan. But the impact on U.S. emissions is likely to be minimal, says George Washington University's Amit Ronen.
We're still going to meet the goals of the Clean Power Plan in most states, even if it's withdrawn, just because we're substituting so much natural gas and renewables for coal.
Coal-fired power plants are shutting down across the country. Utilities are switching to cheaper, cleaner natural gas. And renewable sources, like wind and solar, are booming. Prices have plummeted. Renewables compete with fossil fuels on price in many places. But other Trump administration actions may still tip the balance for coal. A trade case will soon give the president authority to put tariffs on imported solar panels, which is nearly all of them. That could cost the industry 88,000 jobs. Experts note that many states and cities are stepping up efforts to cut greenhouse gases, even as the federal government is pulling back. So federal tariffs would not kill the renewables industry, says Rhodium Group analyst John Larson.
Certainly adds costs and might stifle solar development, but overall, the overall clean energy picture, I think, doesn't get hit too hard. The other more dangerous situation is the DOE action.
The DOE, the Department of Energy, has proposed paying coal and nuclear plants more than other sources for their electricity. Ultimately, experts say the Trump administration has limited powers to save the coal industry. However, while coal's decline is helping to cut greenhouse gas emissions, experts say they are not falling fast enough to avoid the worst of climate change. They also say the human footprint on climate change is immense. At least 1 in 10 people globally live near the coast in a low-lying area. As the population increases and sea level rises, their homes are increasingly being threatened. The countries with the most people at risk include the United States, China, India, and Bangladesh, and Southeast Asian countries such as Vietnam and Indonesia. My colleague Elizabeth Lee explains.
From floods droughts, recent years have seen more of these extreme weather events.
There is no doubt that part of this is climate change. Winters are warmer. Snowpacks come later, they leave earlier. Droughts have tended to be more intense, especially here in California.
Scientists say while climate change cannot be blamed for every extreme weather event, it is definitely a factor.
It changes the odds. So the odds of heat waves are greater, the odds of stronger hurricanes are greater, the odds of more intense droughts and floods are greater.
That means communities in low-lying areas close to the coast worldwide are at a greater risk of the devastating effects of extreme weather.
We're living in a warmer world. We're living in a melting world. And of course, the unequivocal evidence is that sea levels are rising. We're living risky. We're living too close to the coast.
Scientists say although the Earth's climate does naturally fluctuate over hundreds of thousands of years,
we've never seen this much change over 100 years. And so the thing that worries me the most is not the next 1,000 years or the next ice age, but the next 100 years.
It's not natural. If it weren't for human activities, the world, under natural causes like changes in the sun, volcanoes, would have actually cooled slightly in recent decades. Warming is due to human activities, primarily to carbon dioxide and other heat-trapping gases and particles that mankind has put into the atmosphere.
Rising sea levels and more extreme weather have impacts that go beyond floods.
We have greater disease, spread of disease. We have deteriorating air quality because of higher temperatures.
The biggest impacts of sea level rise on
global agriculture must also adapt to a changing world. As seen in this film produced by the Aquarium of the Pacific, sea level rise in Bangladesh is causing more salinity in the soil. Farmers can no longer plant their regular crops and have switched to grains more resilient to salinity. Some countries are working to mitigate the effects of climate change. In Indonesia, American and Indonesian scientists and students are working to restore seagrass beds. Seagrass protects the shore from storm surges and helps take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
We can't make it go away instantly. It takes a long time, but we can act to reduce the severity of climate change.
Scientists say the solution is reducing the amount of fossil fuels and increasing the use of renewable energies. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News, Los Angeles.
I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
I'm Patsy Widapuswara. I've been at VOA for 12 years. So almost 20 years ago, my friends and I from college, we started the first Indonesian debating society. We started debating internationally, and I found out that I liked it, and I'm pretty good at it. Debating paved the way for me to become a journalist because it was in one of these competitions where one of the judges, who's a big television producer in Indonesia, she saw me and then tracked me down after I graduated and offered me a job, and the rest is history. Between debating and journalism, there's a lot of similarity. You have to be able to look at an issue from different angles and then absorb the information and present it in the most effective manner. I like it here because I can be independent. Back home there is censorship, first from the government, and then there's commercial pressures for ratings. But here all we need to rely on is the VOA charter, and I love my job. I can't imagine being anything other than a journalist.
My name's Carla Babb, and I work the Pentagon beat. That access helps me to do better stories. Every day it's my responsibility to collect all of the defense news. It keeps our VOA viewers informed. I get to travel all across the globe. Anything that's defense related and how to protect and keep people safe, that's where I'll go. So it's never a dull moment at the Pentagon. My name is Carla Babb. This is my beat.
Election night 1 year ago, Donald Trump stuns the world with a presidential victory few saw coming.
To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people.
At his inauguration, Trump made a pledge to the working class voters who largely fueled his victory.
Politicians prospered, but the jobs left and the factories closed. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Trump's election signified a seismic shift in U.S. politics, says strategist John Feary.
I think the Republican base voter is now a Trump voter, and they see any effort to stymie President Trump from the Republicans as a direct assault on them.
But Trump's presidency got off to a rocky start with a massive protest march and a dispute over the size of his inaugural crowd, through spokesman Sean Spicer.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
I, Neil M. Gorsuch, do solemnly swear.
The president scored an early success with the confirmation of Justice Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court.
The stock market just hit an all-time record high.
And he gets high marks for his handling of the economy, a booming stock market, and military gains against Islamic State. But Trump and his Republican allies suffered a setback with the defeat of a health care bill in the Senate.
The ayes are 49, the nays are 51.
President's agenda effectively stalled, says Alan Lichtman.
No ruling party with unified control of government has ever come up as empty as the Trump administration and the Republicans who control the Congress of the United States.
The president's Twitter habit provided plenty of distractions, as did some controversial remarks following violent protests in Charlottesville, Virginia.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
The turmoil and lack of success in Congress have kept Trump's poll ratings low, says Larry Sabato.
A large majority of Americans now believe that Donald Trump is doing a poor job as president. They disapprove of his job performance, and it's going down rather than up.
But Trump's election-style rallies and tweets have kept his base fired up and ensured loyalty among most Republicans in Congress, says Matthew Dalek.
Because he has this pretty tight hold on 35-38%, makes it very hard for the Republicans who control Congress to openly challenge him.
Yet recent criminal indictments in the Russia probe also threaten to cast a shadow over the White House, adding to the uncertainty of where Trump's presidency is headed, says Sabato.
So can he turn it around? Yes. Can he get reelected? Sure. Now, sometimes the hard part's getting elected the first time. But he's making it difficult on himself, both for passing his agenda and for keeping the Congress in Republican hands and for getting reelected.
Trump's election was a defining moment in U.S. politics, but its impact on the country and the world remains an open question. Jim Malone, VOA News, Washington.
Did you vote today?
From the liberal college student to the conservative West Virginia coal miner,
the election, the future for the coal industry.
Jeff Deutschmann's documentary 11816 follows American voters during Election Day last November. He showcases 16 out of the 50 voters his team of filmmakers had followed that day across the United States.
We wanted it to be a broad cross-section of individuals that represented, diversity geographically, demographically, and ideologically.
11816 shows that people voted on issues they felt affected them personally. The film also shows that most believed media projections that Hillary Clinton was going to win.
The election will be over by 9 o'clock. They'll call it by 9:30, and everything will be peaceful and wonderful.
What if it goes the other way?
What? Not going to go the other way. No way. Mark it down.
Jeff Deutschmann says his documentary reveals deep cultural divisions in American society the media missed.
So I think it's important not to get stuck in the echo chambers that we all live in. You know, we surround ourselves with people virtually and in real life that are like-minded, and I understand that. I do it as much as anyone. But I think it's really important to try and regularly confront the fact that of how big this country is, and to allow that vastness to inform the decisions that we make about how we vote and, you know, how we speak.
The film does not take sides. We get invested in these 16 characters who, despite their political leanings, make compelling arguments based on their circumstances, as in the case of Tom, a small businessman from Massachusetts.
When Hillary gets elected, and I think she's going to get elected because she's going to
cheat.
She's going to cheat. She's going to raise the taxes on everybody, and healthcare right now is crushing us anyway. So I'm concerned that we're going to have a tough time making ends meet.
Take that stupid hat off, man.
I will not take this hat off.
On the other side of the spectrum, the documentary also shows the concerns of minorities if Donald Trump won. Deutschmann says a year later, America remains deeply polarized across the same lines. He hopes that films like his, by humanizing the American electorate, can encourage dialogue. Penelope Pulu, VOA News.
How's it going? It's Saturday night, study hour. But first, time to catch up.
3-2 share.
Deja Sawyer is in her last year of college and waits on tables at a restaurant. But her life goals are on a ballot.
I plan on returning back home to St. Petersburg and running for city council in 2020-21. Then after that, I aspire to become the first African-American female mayor of the city of St. Petersburg.
To get prepared, Sawyer attended a ready-to-run training program.
Women know the world in a different way.
Here they learn campaign nuances. And the toughest task, fundraising.
Next time you go to a wedding, you're going to be like, here I am at a fundraiser.
I've had friends all my life tell me that I should run for office, and I've always had that little voice in the back of my head saying, no, you're not good enough, you're not qualified, who would want to listen to you?
Females make up more than half of the U.S. population, yet just about 20% of all senators and representatives are female, and even fewer are women of color.
Greeting, Mr. Ramos. My name
In California, Aja Smith is trying to change that.
And I'm a congressional candidate for District 41.
Smith says money intimidates minority women. She's raised $10,000 with a goal of $100,000 by January. Smith is a military veteran running against an incumbent male Democrat who's never served in the military.
We are the largest employer in this area.
Smith says she looks more like her community than a traditional Republican, who she describes as a rich old white man. Halfway across the country in Naperville, Illinois, a woman who is another first-time politician making her run for Congress is Democrat Jennifer Zordani. As she watched the district's Republican congressman get more and more conservative,
I thought, am I going to keep complaining? Or am I going to get out there and work?
First, she has to win the Democratic primary against this woman. Hi. And this woman.
Here's pajama time.
A bookstore owner and city councilwoman.
Right. I'm collecting signatures to get on the ballot. Thank you. I'll give you a little train reading. Thank you.
If she wins, Zordani would be the first woman to ever represent the voters of Illinois' 6th District.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks.
Nearly 400 women like Smith and Zordani are running for the U.S. Congress next year. If most of them win the primaries, many are looking at 2018 to be the year of the woman. Carolyn Pursuti, VOA News.
Traveling through western Texas, National Parks traveler Micah Meyer got a chance to immerse himself in American history.
I'm at Fort Davis National Historic Site, which is a military outpost that was used in the 1800s to help defend American interests in the West Texas Chihuahuan Desert.
The Chihuahuan Desert, which spans more than half of the border between Mexico and the U.S., covers much of West Texas, arguably a perfect place for a fort.
On one side, you see the high wall of rocks that could either protect or make more precarious the fort location. And on the other side, you see the vast open desert for which the military would be able to see their enemies coming for miles.
That could be why Fort Davis, established in 1854, is considered one of the best surviving examples of a military post in the American Southwest. The site also honors the Buffalo Soldiers, freed African-American slaves who joined the U.S. Army following the Civil War. They were called Buffalo Soldiers because Plains Indians thought the soldiers' hair resembled that of buffalo, an animal the Indians greatly revered. The Buffalo Soldiers stationed at Fort Davis served from 1867 to 1885, where they played a major role in the settlement and development of the American West. Their mission was to protect travelers and the mail on the San Antonio-El Paso Road and to support military operations to control hostile American Indians. Today, the National Park Service is sensitive to the plight of the Native Americans in and around that area at the time of the fort's existence, but is proud, nevertheless, to preserve this historic site as a lasting memorial to all the U.S. soldiers who faithfully served their country for almost half a century. Julie Tabo, VOA News, Washington.